Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait
I have
to
a
meet
funny
you.
story to tell. So when I was a kid, my dad would write his check during the sermon, right? And so I'd be sitting there, and at some point in the sermon, probably when he thought it was stupid and he didn't want to listen to it anymore, you'd hear this loud rip. And I think it was a sign to the priest, like, you should probably stop now. Well, this still might go in the plate. So, yeah. Anyway, do not ever worry about any sounds in this church, because I promise you, somebody that I am related to has done something way louder and way more obnoxious. Probably one of my children, but definitely my father or my spouse would also be included in the things that have happened. So I'm just glad you're staying hydrated. Hydrate before you dehydrate. All right, well, let's talk about Christ the King, which I think is one of the silliest church holidays. I'm not going to lie to you. So Christ the King is the last Sunday before Advent starts. So next Sunday begins Advent, I know. And we can't even complain because Advent's kind of late this year. Because I'm always like, I'm not ready. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't say that, because actually, like, Thanksgiving and Advent and everything are kind of late this year. So I don't really have an excuse. I just complain when the seasons change. It's a me thing. It's not a lectionary thing. So the last Sunday is always Christ the King. And in most churches, this is a huge event. Like, it's a huge feast day, right? Which I find to be really, really ironic in the Episcopal Church. Because we literally have spent so much time leaving kings and queens. Like, we've spent a lot of effort into it. And so I think for us as Americans, it's kind of we're not really sure what to do with it. Because it's not really something that speaks to us in our language, really. I mean, if you think about it, like, kingship is not something that really speaks to us. Like I said, we've spent a whole lot of our lives rejecting it. Though, kind of, every once in a while, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem so bad. Charles seems like a nice guy, really, when you think about it. He keeps bees. He has an organic farm. And I'm like, Charles seems like a cool guy. Okay, but what do we do with Christ the King? Because I think it is incredibly relevant, actually. Maybe not maybe we don't need to use that term, Christ the King. But I do think that we need to explore power, leadership, authority, and all that stuff, because those are themes that are incredibly confusing to us, and we're not sure what to do with them. In fact, in our own individual lives, they're confusing to us. And then it gets even more confusing the larger we get, so the more we go into universalizing things. So Americans really, really struggle with power and authority. We just do. And so I think it is worth looking at this. And to be honest, I don't think we get a whole lot of time to explore Pilate's conversation with Jesus, because usually when we hear it, it's on Good Friday if you happen to go to church. And so, or it's the Sunday before that, it's Palm Sunday, and you hear the whole thing, and you're just so overwhelmed by it all that you're just kind of in overwhelming mode. And so we don't spend enough time really exploring what Jesus and God have to say about power and authority. And then, like I said, as humans, it's a very confusing topic for us. We're just not sure what to do with it. So let's talk about it a little bit more, because Pilate's confused, right? Do you pick that up? Because Pilate's like, I don't even know why you're here, Jesus. Like, this is a waste of my time. And I think it's really important to understand that Pilate is worried about Pilate's power, okay? Pilate's in a really tricky position here because he works for the emperor, but also he is supposed to be in charge of this rabble-rousing crowd that he's here with. And that's a really tricky position to be in. Because if things go badly for Pilate, it's not like here where you get to retire and go write your autobiography and tour, right? Go on a speaking tour. That's not what happens. Generally, if things go badly for you in the empire, it goes, right? And so he's like, we're trying to hold this all together. But he's also having this conversation with Jesus because he doesn't know what to do with it, and it's confusing. And so I do want to come at it from Pilate's perspective of, like, for us as humans, power is confusing. Authority is confusing. Leadership is confusing. So he's like, well, so you are a king. And Jesus is like, well, not of this, because, ew, who wants to be king of this? Y'all a hot mess. I'm king of this, not this. And he's like, so why doesn't it look more like this? And Jesus has been trying to teach people for a really long time about power, authority, and leadership, and they don't get it. Because remember, when the Israelites want a king, they want power and dominion. They want control over others. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a Messiah who rides a big white horse, who has abs, looks a little like they're rolling in for a rolling gladiator. And don't worry, no, I have no interest in watching that film. Either one, first or second. When they say 17 or over, I'm like, yeah, I'm really more of a PG kind of girl. I'm a laughing kind of girl. But, you know, they look amazing, right? I mean, I'm here for the ads. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like, not bad. Not bad. So in their minds, that is what the Messiah is supposed to be. Because that's what kingship looks like. Kingship looks amazing. It looks like physical power, brute force, dominion over others, other people, the earth, everything. That's what we want. What do we get? We get Jesus, the pacifist, who probably has a dad bod. And we're like, wait, that's not what we signed up for. And Jesus is like, hey, check out the flowers in the field. Love and respect everybody. Let's appreciate everything. And they're like, did you not hear about the power and dominion part? Did you not get that? And instead of a big white horse, he comes rolling in on a donkey. And you're like, did you not get the memo about power and dominion? And so to this day, you and I struggle with it. Because let's just go on a larger level. You have a boss, right? Are they a leader or are they authoritarian? Are they into power and control over you, or are they into team leadership and we're working together? There's a difference. You've seen it. You've felt it. You know the difference. You know the difference when you're having a conversation with your kids and they're being complete toads and you want power and you want control and you want authority, and that doesn't work. Does it? No, it explodes. Because, folks, that's not what it's about. And Jesus comes to us again and again and again and says, leadership, together. That's what this is about. And we reject it because we're not even really sure, but that's not what we want. We want control. Folks, it's never about control. Let's talk about it on a God level. Do you feel like God has control over you? Does God seem to be controlling anything at this point? Absolutely not. It doesn't feel control, does it? And frankly, do we want it to? Do you want God to control you? Or do you want love? Do you want mutual care? That's what we are called to. That's what kingship really, truly looks like. And we have a hard time accepting that. But that's what this really is. And I do think it does have some power as we go into Advent, because it's really, really easy to go from power, dominion, money, all that stuff, right? And that's what we want Christmas to be about. And we want to skip over the Advent stuff. But really, really power comes from you knowing yourself, from you being close to the divine, from you spending that time to really understand what is going on. So that's what Advent's going to be about. It's going to be about quiet listening. It's going to be about welcoming something into our lives that we don't completely understand. Something that is enormous and terrifying and wonderful. And yet really, really small. Because the power is in the small. The power is in our everyday little bitty moments. It's not in the enormous decisions made by people out there. It's made in our everyday tiny moments. That's what this is about. That's where your power comes from. That's where God's power comes from. Not from exploding volcanoes, but in you seeing something different in the world around you. And you seeing someone differently in the world around you. That's where God is. That's the promise of all of this. So you don't need to worry about all the vestments and all the gold and all the trappings and all the fun, loud music of Christ the King, because that's really not that big a deal. It feels good, and it looks pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. Have you ever been to Cathedral when they pull out all the stops? It's freaking amazing. I'm here for it, but I'm also here for gladiator dad bods, so, Clearly, I'm not necessarily always in the God moments. But when Jesus comes to us, it's not going to be like that. When Jesus comes to us, it's going to be true power and true love and leadership. It's going to be sacrifice. It's going to be in tiny little decisions that you and I make every single day. Tiny ones. And as we enter into Advent, I implore you, I beg you, pay attention to your tiny moments. Don't worry so much about the big Christmas stuff. Christmas will come. It will happen. It will be shiny, it will be ridiculous, and it will be expensive, and you'll probably have a credit card bill at the end of it. I'm just being real, I'm being honest. But that's not what this is really about. And that's frankly not what I care about for us. What I care about is those tiny everyday decisions that you and I make leading up to the Christmas story. Pay attention. Pay attention, because it is in that you will find God's power. Yes, absolutely. Actually, I thought that was mine.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10
because I got to
a.m. on
tell you
Sundays.
about mine.
Please be sure to
this
hit
morning.
subscribe to receive our sermons.
Okay, let me
We
preface
can't
this
wait
story
to
with
meet
we
you.
don't have a mouse problem. Don't you love every story that starts with we don't have a mouse problem? But. So I'm in my office. I'm working because, I'm also the secretary.